Good morning, everyone. Delighted to be with
Morning.
all of you, talking about something which is very close to the heart, life insurance. Having spent so much time in the industry, 2.5 decades, when I look at the extent of changes which happened over last 9 months, can't believe it. Have to really pinch myself. I go back to the days when started my journey with LIC of India, and when I see what has come in last 9 months, is kind of a story that has unfolded in an amazing speed. And to talk about all this and the empirical analysis that is the topic of panel discussion today, we have stalwarts from the industry. This is one industry that I today feel extremely proud of because of the thing that the way industry faced the pandemic is amazing. The way industry ensured that in spite of all the challenges, lockdown, fear in the minds of people, they could have their teams on the ground attending to each and every questions coming from the customers. I think the industry deserves standing ovation for that. And to talk about the story of that, I think the best panel is out here who have not just done it for their companies, they have done it for the entire industry. They have worked very closely with the regulators. So, next 45 minutes, let me hear the stories from all of them. And of course, we would be very interested to know what are the opportunities. Was struggling and everybody was saying that industry would go down by 30-40%. I think he with his team started a run which was better than the Ben Johnson run kind of a thing. Kamlesh, over to you for your takeaways, the way pandemic happened. What did you do? What was the magic wand?
I often say this that the pandemic has made us do things that I don't think we in normal course we would have put in place. Um, Coming from the outside, I've always seen insurance to be a push product. Actually, the desired amount of pull it looks like has come into this product. People are more conscious about buying this product right now. I think the risk awareness and risk averseness both went up during the same period of time. I must admit that we all have BCP plans, but to have a BCP plan where the entire country will shut down, I don't think anybody had thought through that process. But I think the
Correct.
ability to be able to put some of our processes in place, I think has helped the insurance industry. So whether it be business that is growing, whether it is efficient claims that we are managing both COVID and non-COVID at this point of time, I must agree with you, Amit, that there is reason that the life insurance industry should be proud of what it has done. I genuinely think uh, the digital adoption that we have done in the last 9-10 months in the ability to ensure both our advisors as well as our banker partners can reach out. The new products that we've created closer to protection business, which is on the upswing, as well as the guaranteed savings product that we have. Some of these have worked in our favor. And the whole business of being able to put analytics onto the platform to be able to sell the right product to the right customer now that we have so much data available. I think some of this have fallen in place, and I genuinely think that for the time that we have had in the last 9 months, this could be a great opportunity for the life insurance industry for the next 4 to 5 years. I sincerely believe that if we get this momentum right and we make sure that in the post-COVID world, we incorporate the learnings of the COVID world that we've got, which have had large ranging implications from higher productivity and great cost efficiency. The life insurance industry will be able to do in the next 5 years what I think it has been able to do in the last 10. So I genuinely think there is a great large opportunity arising out of this, and whatever capitalization the life insurance industry has done, if we keep, like I said, the learnings of this, because I often get worried that in India memory is short. So I hope we don't forget all the good things that we did during this last 9 months and take it forward into the post-COVID world. I think it's going to be a good
Yeah.
time for life insurance industry.
Thanks, Kamlesh. That's really a great start of the discussion. I actually now come to Biva. Biva, I know having a deep financial actuarial background. Possibly you are the best person to comment on the worry that I have with all this positivity on the background. this is an industry which is always known as a deep pocket industry. And this is an industry which has been extremely competitive when it came to popularizing the term insurance product. And I think one thing that I saw in this pandemic is a silent offtake of lot of awareness of insurance, which is a good story, which is a good story for the industry in long run. Having said that, what are those financial protection ring fencing? What are those emerging risks? Do you think industry is adequately prepared, like Kamlesh mentioned, capitalized? Are there worry lines? Do you think that industry is smart enough and nimble enough to handle these emerging changes? Over to you, Biba, for your comments.
So great question, Amit, and thank you to Economic Times. Overall, I think there is opportunity, certainly, the way Kamlesh mentioned, and that's how we see this overall. At the same time, like with every opportunity, there has to be also adequate amount of caution. And insurance are long-tailed, it's a long-tailed business sector. And like you said, you mentioned actuarial. While I'm not an actuary, but caution in terms of how we price products and how we see risks emerging becomes a cornerstone, because some of these things will unravel over the years. So we're not selling soap, is my favorite line, and some of these things will unravel, and therein lies the nuanced approach to the opportunity. So term is really core of why we are in this business. So if a pandemic is bringing that upon us, great, and we need to sell more of it. At the same time, there is not enough information about whether it's KYC, whether it is underlying life, quality of life, and so on. Also, apart from the newly proposed Saral term, we don't have a waiting period apart from suicide clause. So we can't really say no to policyholders. So all of that brings in that complexity. So being careful in one's underwriting, also on credit life, that's another, if you like, a can of worms if you don't price it properly, and also asks those questions about especially COVID-related questions. So enough of, in terms of caution is required. And also we are seeing quarter on quarter COVID claims going up. Quarter one was very, very low, perhaps because people were just struggling to get their act together on a personal front. There was a struggle to lodge claims perhaps, but now we are seeing certainly an uptick in COVID claims. Also, to some extent, non-COVID deaths were a natural hedge for COVID deaths, because people were just not leaving homes. So the normal deaths in the normal course of one's life, that was significantly lower. However, yesterday's Times of India, for example, said the uptick was 60% in non-COVID deaths. Road accidents, accidents on the farm, and so on, electrocution, etc. Because now people are up and about, and so that natural hedge is also going away. So at the same time, now COVID deaths in say Mumbai have gone down very significantly. So one needs to really watch very, very closely how these risks are emerging. Not be afraid to vacate space if one does not feel comfortable in pricing that risk, and maybe enter it later on when there's a little bit more of sensible behavior in terms of how we price risk. That becomes extremely important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments, Biba. And that brings me into some of the things that industry brought very quickly in amazing nimbleness. And I can't believe the agility of adoption that people showed. And coming to Tarun, I would request you to share. India obviously seeing the pandemic for the first time, and India possibly is a country which has been lucky that way, that at least on the industry side, we have not seen a lot of tectonic event. But globally, there has been pandemics, and may not be in the size of the COVID, but I think SARS was affecting quite a bit of country. Tarun, I wanted to you to share what was the preparedness and what were the effects in a long and short term for those countries, and the way India adopted the technology, the digital part of it. Agents adopted digital selling with amazing stories. What were the stories for those countries, Tarun? Wanted to hear from you. Over to you for that.
Sure. Thanks, Amit. Lovely question. Yes, there are some countries which have been kind of accustomed to seeing the pandemics or similar situations more often than not. I think China is the one that usually stands out. I remember last time when SARS hit and similar the virus outbreaks, China is one of a very homogeneous behavior kind of a world. While India is
Right.
usually heterogeneous, you'll find lots of Indias within one India. China, maybe not as many Chinas in China. Uh, so there was a lot of learning from China. Now, I remember about 4 years back, now almost 5, 6 years back, then the last time they were hit, there was a lot of takeoff of health-related products. So there was, again, the similar kind of footprints where old people were getting the flu very quickly. So I remember at that time having talked to my China counterpart, and he said millions of policies are just selling, and there was this kind of herd mentality.
Mhm.
Similarly, this time over, for us, therefore, it was very obvious to look at what is happening in China first, because it was a leader in
Right.
this, kind of led us by almost 3 months. So lead indicators, at least we picked up a lot from China. So what we saw was the same stuff we've then seen in India. There was a pickup of term life and health insurance
Mhm.
there. Uh, in fact, there was this trend we saw that the moment they got a little bit hang of COVID, Ping An's growth in the month of April was about 19%. So,
Right.
so that was while we were kind of falling in. So that gave us confidence that look, this will come back. I mean, we will get back. There will be a shift on customer trends. So what we could see in China pretty much had played out in India as well in terms of customer trends. So we saw trends around in China and in India on take up of risk-based products, something that Vibha talked about, right? So that really made a big difference. China is already quite homogeneous in the way it interacts with technology, whether it's payment systems or whatever. But we were a little apprehensive that whether this is going to happen because a lot of our sales, particularly the agency channel, is face to face, right? So we
Yeah.
always believe that you cannot sell till you're not face to face. So
Right.
what I think we were most surprised with was the way customers responded and were 2 steps ahead of every life insurance company. And they were already there in terms of technology take up. Maybe because they now a lot of e-commerce is already going on. So when you use an Amazon or a Flipkart, you're already kind of clicking and moving on. So uh, first time ever that we've seen, and I think that is a trend which we should see play out and be a very important one to figure out how things change, whether the customer take up of technology is retained even after, let's say, the masks come out. So that'll be something that'll be interesting to see. Term products have been selling uh, with a lot more payments going online. We had almost 80% of our renewal premiums coming online,
Mhm.
something which we used to always struggle to go beyond 25%.
Yeah.
So a lot
Yeah.
of customer trends on technology will be interesting to see how this is retained after COVID.
Thank you so much, Tarun. That's an amazing story, and that's so encouraging actually. Now I want to move over to Mukesh because I think the way LIC made this transition during the COVID time was amazing. You know, it's given the large structure is almost like moving the elephant in a very short time. Um, Mukesh, I wanted to learn from you. Employees obviously were human being, and every time I think of they are managing it from branches for the entire industry, I feel like saluting them like we clap for the health workers. It's a very silent amazing story. And LIC had the challenge that the average age of the employee out there is much higher than the private industries. So Mukesh wanted to learn from you what has been the secret for LIC for managing the pandemic. How did you ensure that customer service could take place? And now I hear even the agents have adopted the digital means. That's an amazing story for LIC because I think there was a lot of struggle around that. Mukesh, over to you for that story.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks for the question. Uh, Definitely, it was a challenge for an organization like LIC having more than 100,000 employees. And we didn't have anything like work from home before this pandemic. And it suddenly
Yeah.
came in the last fortnight of the March. which is a very huge fortnight from any point of view, whether it is servicing, claim settlement, annuity payments, or for the new business completion. So our employees, I will say, they were reassured and they were advised by our chairman also to take care of safety, health first, and then take care of other things. And as lockdown was clamped, it was difficult for people to go to office. But yes, with skeleton staff, we have managed. Our team that way is dedicated, and we could switch to work from home immediately thanks to technology, because we are already in technology. We could switch to work from home, and a good percentage of our people could start working from home. The basic challenge at the last week of the March was to complete the cases, new business cases, and we could allow our employees to, our underwriters to work from home. The link was provided and they could underwrite the cases from home with all the documents. At the same time, a mobile app was provided to the employees and agents for uploading the documents for completion of cases. That was one part of new business where we could complete all the cases submitted, almost all cases at the that fag end of the financial year. Similarly, that other challenge was to process the claims, process the commission payment to agents, process the annuities, because we are the maybe the largest pension providers, and all these annuity payments to be made in time. With the help of the technology, all these things could be managed from remote locations by our employees, our technology people, and we could settle all those things on time. Now, coming to upskilling the employees, it is a regular process. We have the robust infrastructure for training across the country, but because physical classes were not possible, our training centers and our even external training institutes, they switched over to virtual training, and we could train people through maybe like if today, if you see, I think almost 25% of our employees, officers have already been exposed to training through virtual modes. Another thing was that we have now started one online training module in our internal intranet site that is called Gyanpeeth. It's like all the modules, all functions of the LIC operations, our insurance servicing and everything. There are some modules that people can, our employees can scan through that, read them, study them, and there are some tests after everything, assessment exercises. And now this is made a competitive thing that once they pass the test, they are issued a certificate, and if they complete those courses, that will be integrated with the appraisal system also. So that way they are now able to upgrade their knowledge and maybe multi-skill themselves, so that multitasking will be possible in the future. All these things help us in upgrading. I agree with you that yes, our average age of our workforce is a little bit high in comparison to others. But yes, there was a induction of some new young blood, millennials also during the previous financial year, which helped us in maybe adopting the technology fast. Coming to agency force, yes, we had an agents portal already, and a good number of agents were accessing the agents portal for a lot of services, lot of information about their products and other things. But this was a challenge, and we could extend that, like I shared that uploading of documents through this mobile app, and then we have already introduced with our tech term policy last year that video MER. So medicals also through video and tele MER we could introduce. That has helped. But agents, we have, it's a difficult task to train 12 lakh agents, 12 lakh plus agency force. But with the help of our training institutes, we have a good number of sales training institutes. They also switched to virtual training. Plus, because it was a regular process, we were training them, agents were able to adopt. And as Tarun rightly said, customers were maybe way ahead of all of us in adopting the digital modes. So renewals we could get on time. Initially 2 months, yes, there was an impact on the business, but slowly our agency force has started using digital modes. Digital modes, yeah. So that has helped. Now, as recently, I will just say one thing. Recently, we have introduced an application, digital application for onboarding of customers directly without any paperless thing. As thanks to regulator, they allowed that dispensing with wet signature, and we have introduced that Ananda module. You would have read about that. That is helping.
Yeah, I'll come to the regulation part.
Thank you.
Shortly. Yeah. Before I come to the regulation part and the regulator story, let me come to Mahesh, who is managing another very interesting company. and it's a bank assurance driven company. We all know about it. But having said that, if I say that it's a bank assurance driven company, is possibly one of the most strong statement that I am making, because this company also shows very robust agency channel, a very robust direct distribution channel, and now it is seriously into digital mode. Mahesh, I wanted you to actually not talk about the past, but what do you think future has got in store in terms of effect on the P&L? Do you think acquisition cost will go down because of the new digital ways is taking off? Let me also bring another controversial, statement. Do you think that agency channel will vanish and gradually it will be all digital, or do you think, Mahesh, that both can coexist similarly? And third thing that I wanted to ask you, do you see any new segment coming to distribution as a result of the learnings that we had in pandemic? Mahesh, over to you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amit, and thanks to ET for this very interesting discussion. First of all, the PM, the cost. I don't think that the costs, in SBI Life can come down much further. We already have a very, very low OPEX ratio, and
Right.
that's a function of our model. So we have keeping costs under control. What we see is that there are some costs which are coming down, like for example, travel, conferences, spending on hotels, conventions, things like that. But on the other hand, a lot of expenditure on digital infrastructure, a lot of expenditure on training infrastructure, etc. we are putting in place. So I think it's not really going to make so much of a difference immediately. But then going forward, any kind of digital selling and digital adoption will definitely bring down the costs, because every meeting and everything that can be replaced by a video conference or a telephone call is definitely going to bring down the cost.
Sure.
As a result of COVID, we are also all going to be traveling much less. I think we already have a policy in place for work from home or work from anywhere, as we say. That policy is already there, and we are trying to see how we can improve on that and take the efficiencies of costs into that. But the effect on the P&L is not likely to be very drastic, but definitely going, it will in the future the costs will come down, because we will be finding more efficient ways of doing the same things that we were doing earlier, and we would realize that a lot of expenditure can be avoided forcefully. Right now, about 9 months we've been avoiding all kinds of expenditure. So we'll probably realize that we can actually cut down on a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Have an effect on the P&L. The other thing about the distribution, about whether the become totally digital and what happens to my agents. So I would like to say that we have not actually left out any of our agents. Normally we have a process of considering the minimum business requirements, and then letting off agents who have not adhered to those. But this year what we have done is, there were a lot of people who were not able to do business because of the pandemic, and because they were unable to go travel, or they didn't have the normal kind of business. We have actually done away with that for the year, and we have kept all our agents, and we are now giving them a chance to sell. And we have added agents, almost the same number that we added last year, maybe 10-20% less, but we have been adding agents. So the number of agents, if you look at India, there are people who are totally unaware of such a thing called digital. So the other side of the digital divide is also something which we really cater to. We have all the cutting edge technologies that are required, so we also do digital onboarding. We've been doing for 2 years now, and right now onboarding on paperless onboarding is 98% of the business that we do. Even all our agents are able to onboard customers digitally. But then, of course, there is a paper end to it. So there would be the wet signatures which are taken on some forms. But that also is being now, we are trying to dispense with that because of the regulation. But having said that, there are a lot of customers who would never be able to go on this digital, at least in the near future. And these have to be these prospective customers and these customers of the banking partners and the corporate partners that we have to be catered to. And we consider that we would be continuing the increase in the number of agents and also in the number of specified persons at the branches, so that all these people can be tapped. And it's a huge opportunity right now, because everybody is talking about increasing coverage, and India has one of the poorest coverage ratios in the world in terms of life insurance coverage. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to increase that. We will do it both by digital means and by non-digital, that is face-to-face means. We will continue to have our agents, but we are training all our agents continuously. So when the pandemic struck, the first thought that we did was, a lot of morale building and a lot of digital enablement and training for our agents, so that they could actually start selling with the new normal by not interacting with customers. So over the telephone, over video calls, and depending on the level at which each of the customers is, so catering to that. So in the cities, you would find that there were webinars, and there were people who could do it end-to-end digitally. Even claims were being accepted digitally. Documents could be uploaded. In fact, we have an OCR software to check that the documents uploaded are concerning the same person. So you can't just upload a driving license or a card and say that this is mine, because then it would read the name and the date of birth and confirm that it is the same person. So that kind of thing we are doing, along with the number of people that we are keeping and recruiting. So these are the two things that we see. The other opportunity that we see in terms of manpower is that this pandemic has shown us that we can work from anywhere, and it be something which very privileged people in the world used to do earlier. But now we realize that even the Life Mitra or the agent that we have can do it in very backward areas, backward in terms of infrastructure. So even there people could do it. And now we sense an opportunity in trying to get more agents across the country from all these areas. And one of the target groups that we would be aiming at is women who have worked earlier and quit the workforce because of cultural reasons, or the various things that actually come in the way of their continuing normal life. So that is one group which we would like to which we have done actually in the last year. Also, we tried a recruitment drive for women, and this time we will be from now on we'll probably actively start thinking about how we can include qualified women and women who have actually worked earlier and quit, how we can bring them back into the workforce, either as agents or even as employees.
That's a great thought. Thanks, Mahesh, for sharing that. As we speak, we already have started having questions on product variations. Very interestingly. And Tarun, I wanted to come to you. What are your takes in terms of, do you believe that given the new concepts which are emerging, do you see two things that I wanted you to touch upon? Do you see any new product variation absolutely different from whatever that we already know about? And the second follow-up question to that, do you think that there could be some very interesting new channels, distribution models coming out of that? Over to you, Tarun, for that quick answer on those two queries.
Sure. I'll keep it quick. Yeah, we have to keep in the time limit. So on the product side, honestly, Amit, the shift that was to happen, I feel has already happened. In terms of new ideas, well, there's just been a small one that is coming more because of regulation. where Ziba talked about the fact that the suicide clause, the first 45-day claim period is like you don't need to pay necessarily in the first 45 days. In the Saral Jivan Bima, and there's an ROP there, so you return the premium if there's a death in the first 45 days. I don't see much changes in terms of new product innovation coming in. Nothing in the anvil that hits me. Believe me, if I had already thought about it, we would already be selling it.
Okay.
The big thing is largely on the way the bucket of products is mixed up. So
Right.
the term plan, and there'll be variants of the term plan. There will be, and you'll see a lot of that suddenly becoming at least 10 to 20% of the entire sector. It's usually in the 1 to 5%. You'll see the till this FD arbitrage remains, you will see that our guaranteed plans are going to be anywhere between 20 to 30% for most companies. I did see a come down of ULIP, and everybody has seen that. But with the markets not picking up, you know that money starting will come back to the equity markets. So ULIPs will come. So what will change in the short answer really is the way the product portfolio is playing out. That is going to have a significant shift. I also see a big move towards pensions. Already the signals have been good. But the best part there is that it's only the large players who did not have a issue on EOM, expense of management, could really sell. But as more and more of us are getting efficient, we will be able to sell a lot more of pensions as well. In terms of new channels, it's actually on the digital side, it's how channels are using digital. That is going to change. The percentage of usage of digital will change. We are testing with a new channel called a work from home channel. That is changing. Okay. Yeah, the way lots of these ideas have already been kind of sprinkled by every speaker here. So there is nothing out of the can really, but it's all variants of the same. But you will find that the second innings kind of people coming in with gig, that will make a difference. There should be a move towards variabilization in agency. I think if that was to happen, that is really stuck in the regulation. Because if you look at Asia, agency is typically a lot more profitable than bank assurance.
Couldn't agree more.
India is just the other.
Yeah.
I think if that sorts out, then you will see a big move. Otherwise, it will be just some variants of the same.
Thank you. Thanks, Tarun, for that. Viva, I wanted to quickly come back to you. You manage a company which is a listed company and which is actually seeing a lot of investors now. It's one of the most talked about life insurance company where people would like to invest. And I'm so happy that people are looking at life insurance as an industry where the sheer, equity investors should go and invest. It's a great long-term story. Wanted to know from you, you manage the stakeholders almost every quarter. So how do you ring fence their worries? Are they excited about the future? Are there worry lines? What's your mantra, Viva, if you don't mind sharing with us? Viva,
Amit,
what do you?
This is a very nascent sector. I think they realize that. From an outside in, there is a lot of comfort that while India might sometimes muddle through and take a little bit longer to get there, there is a lot of transparency versus some of the other countries in this geography in Asia. So that also in terms of corporate governance and like I said, transparency, disclosures gives them a fair amount of comfort. They also realize that the size of the opportunity and really even the sub 3% penetration ratio is somewhat misleading because there's a lot of savings led as against just pure life insurance products. And when you juxtapose that with how much, just 2.5% of people who can buy term insurance have bought term insurance and so on. And like Tarun said, people living a lot longer, outliving their savings, inflation still being there. So all the macro elements are certainly very exciting. There is no $100 billion, not even one life insurance company in India. While in China, give or take between $80 billion to $120 billion, you have 2 or 3 companies. Right, so we're not even talking a scale that to say that we have maxed out. So So yes, and especially it augurs very well for the long onlys, pension funds who are looking to invest long term and write the growth story of a fairly young company, which is 20-year-old in the private sector. So I think we have to collectively continue building good businesses. I don't think there is any mantra, to your point, about how do you do this quickly. One can play this game for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, maybe a couple of years, but things will catch up. To my earlier point that you had asked about, mortality risk, there are other risks. There could be persistency risks, there could be interest rate risks, and so on, expense ratio risks. So, and that will all take a knock on your embedded value and start making investors fairly nervous as to, is this really going to unwind? Is the embedded value, which is really the bedrock of how you're valued, is that going to unwind in a meaningful fashion, or are there all unpleasant things sitting in there? So really, we have to take, pardon my saying this, but we have to take a 100-year view, to say, I want to leave this for several generations down the line. And so I want to look at the holistic growth of this company and doing the right thing. Life insurance is infinitely more complex than an FMCG or even general insurance for that matter, which is a shorter tenure product. So no immediate fixes, but I think building a good quality business and really pulling back when one doesn't understand the risks adequately. I think that is really the guiding principle to building a good business.
Thanks, Vibha, for that. Kamlesh, I wanted to come to you with a billion-dollar question that's being asked by some incorrigible optimists that I am one of them. Insurance has always been known as a push product. Way back in 90s, people used to tell me Gabbar Singh because I would go and talk about insurance with them, and they would not be friends with me. Do you think this pandemic can shift this into a pull product, Kamlesh? Given the fact that we are not doing those RARA sales meeting, we are not doing those morning huddles, everything is digital. At the same time, a very new segment of agency can evolve, a very new segment of distributors can evolve. Banks can actually now sell 5 times given the DNA support, the AI ML story. What do you think, Kamlesh? Your take on that very quickly, maybe in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think the desired pull, I don't think there could have been any bigger event than the pandemic that could have created the required pull. I think it's for the life insurance industry to deliver on the created pull. But I think it's important, the execution is important. I think life insurance products are generally seen as complex. I think if anything we can do on the product side is try and make it simpler. The delivery of that product, which is the digital consumption, the journeys for the sale can become significantly simpler. For the kind of data that we have today, we are not just going blind to a customer. I can now today come to Amit Roy and say, I think this product is meant for you. There's a huge amount of data available that you can crunch on analytics to say what is the best product to sell to Amit, depending on age, where he is in his life, and so on and so forth. I see some of those changes happening. You mentioned the point about cost and whether there are savings in P&L. I genuinely think that for every 1 rupee of incremental value that we can create, actually 60 to 70% of that will come out of incremental productivity of people, rather than saying it will come out of real estate costs and so on and so forth. Because the whole process of training has gone digital. Our ability to look at data and offer right products to customers is far more meaningful, which means the number of times we meet a customer is become lesser to actually sell the product. I think we will see change if well adopted, well executed, and like I always say, in the post-COVID world, we carry a lot of this into that. Often people ask that, is it going to be an either-or kind of a principle? I don't think digital is about either-or. It's about and. Both the agents as well as our banker partners will have to inbuild digital as part of the thinking process, and it can't be just either or. And I think that will augment the size of the life insurance industry, and the pull is definitely here to stay for a reasonably long period of time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That brings me to Mahesh about the product story if I continue. I think the industry is a little embarrassed about the fact that we still are known as people, who do not sell insurance and who sell savings. And this debate goes on for years together. Last 2.5 decades, I have been a witness to this debate. What are your takes in the future? do you think that we will actually shift to 50% of term insurance? Do you think that savings are going to be there? Do you think that we should be a little embarrassed like an industry in selling investment product, or do you think it's a perfectly normal? Mahesh, I wanted very quickly your two inputs on that.
Yeah, so if you ask me whether I'm embarrassed selling savings products, I'll have to say no. Because there is a large amount of savings products that I'm selling, and this actually gives insurance. In a financial immunity kind of sense, it gives that kind of insurance. So even an annuity product, for example, it may not have an insurance element. I mean, it may be just a payment of a monthly pension over the remaining period of a person's life. And that is a pure, I should say, a pure savings product, but it is actually insurance for that person, that that he will continue to get steady income no matter how long he lives. Maybe he lives to be 100, and he doesn't still run out of money. At least he gets some check. Inflation not accounted for. So that is one of the things. The other thing is that all the products that we sell in insurance, which have an element of sum assured, an insurance cover, in the event of death or whatever is the event that is covered. Those products also have this, even though there may be a savings element to it, they do have the insurance element, and they actually build the habit of of insuring oneself or insuring one's dependents in the event of death. So that, I think, is very, very critical. And this is how it happens. You start from savings.
Absolutely.
Then you graduate to more insurance into that product, and then you finally want to something like a term with return of premium, or then a pure term insurance product. But all of these give that element of insurance. And I think in a country like India, where everybody asks, nobody's even now we are not really prepared to take a case where you just give money and forget about it, and that comes to help you only in times of in the time of death. So that is something which people are still, the culture doesn't still accept. So you will find that people ask, what is in it for me? Return of premium and the amount to be left to a near and dear one, or some dependent, some amount to be left is an actual real cultural reality. I think that is the way to go. I mean, you need to look at what the people want and not what people say around the world about what insurance should be.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that. Very quickly coming to Mukesh for a 1-minute answer on, do you think that the regulators have been adequately supportive during the pandemic time? Any particular wish list that you would like to have from regulators? Do you think that guidance from the regulations were just right for the industry? Mukesh, over to you.
Thanks, Amit. I'll say that yes, regulator has extended full support in that time of pandemic, right from starting that allowing extra grace period to the policyholders for paying renewals, to allowing this dispensing with wet signature, and all regulations. Means regulator was almost regularly in touch with the insurers and has supported us in all the areas in this pandemic situation. And now coming out with that standard term product, Saral Jeevan, which will help us with that lien available there for 45 days. So I will say that yes, regulator has supported. You are asking of wish list. I will just say that we could not get you will find that reinsurers, maybe they were not coming forward because of obvious reasons. There is no experience of pandemic and all this mortality, morbidity data was not there. So maybe if regulator can have some interaction with reinsurers also to come together, and insurance industry can offer some better products for this thing. That's one
Thank
area
you so
I feel.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mukesh. I know that, like everyone else, I want to go on and on with this fantabulous panel, spectacular observations and we can talk possibly for another 10 hours on the distribution story, insurance story, product story, and technology story. But like everything good has to come to an end, our panel discussion will come to an end now. Thanks, Iti, for engaging all of us into this platform. This was great discussion for last 45 minutes. We have great stories unfolding for the country with these stalwarts. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Viva, for leading, in this pandemic time. And as a country, we all look forward to your leadership, all the 5 great leaders that we had for the panel discussion today. All the very best. Have a great day ahead, guys.
Thank you,
so
Amit.
much.
Thanks, Siti.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thanks, Siti.
Thanks, Amit.